Hello and welcome to Warp Factor Unknown, a podcast where we delve into the world of Star Trek for an unpredictable rewatch and discussion. I'm your host, Dan, and joining me today is my ever-engaging co-host, Tom.
Hello everyone, lovely to be here, as usual.
Today we are talking about the animated series, and the episode is from Season 1, Episode 9, Once Upon a Planet. And this is a momentous episode of our podcast. This is the season finale. We had only ever set out to do 10 episodes, and this is episode 10.
I'm so glad this one was our finale. It could have been All Good Things, it could have been the final episode of DS9, but instead we had Star Trek animated series, which is actually my first encounter with an animated series episode, and yeah, I'm looking forward to discussing this.
Yeah, what an introduction to the animated series. The animated series is kind of like that, and in a lot of ways, the original series is like that. I think, in my humble opinion, that the original series and the animated series, the kind of stories they share and they tell, are very similar in kind of like, themes and absurdity and stuff. It's just like an extension thereof. Yeah, this one was it's a bit out there. Tripping a few balls, I want to say.
See, I enjoyed it for its tripping ballness. I actually liked the fact that it was so, should I say 70s? It's just like, what did the writers have to induce them to write an episode like this? And I was like, yeah, it was the craziest episode of Star Trek I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Including Threshold.
I mean, Threshold's pretty out there. Like, obviously, you've not seen the original episode this is based on Shore Leave.
No.
And from what I can remember, it's pretty much like that. The episode just kind of starts off with them beaming down, and suddenly there's Alice in Wonderland with a rabbit and Alice and stuff. And I can't remember, I've not seen it in so long, but I think the original Shore Leave episode, I think it's just a guy in a rabbit outfit. Like a really, obviously a man in like a birthday costume, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. Maybe it looks better than that, really, but
yeah, it was weird to see that Alice in Wonderland reference, because I guess back then, I mean, how many years was Alice in Wonderland?
I have no idea.
Written before that, but it must still have been a few decades. It's like, of all the references, that's just, I don't know, it just seems strange to me to pick that.
It helps reinforce to the audience what the planet can do. You think of something, it creates it. So you think of the Alice in Wonderland, it creates Alice in Wonderland.
I guess it is like it creates whatever you imagine in a positive way up until the Enterprise gets there.
It's kind of what I said when we spun this episode at the end of our last podcast. I was like, this is basically the original series holodeck. They didn't have the holodeck on the original Enterprise. It wasn't a thing in the original series. So this is kind of the holodeck episode. And, I mean, it kind of is. It's kind of like the holodeck breaking down and all this stuff happening.
Yeah.
And the crew have got to solve it and fix it. Should we start off with the opening credits, the intro? And, like, you got the Enterprise just whizzing about.
Oh, it's so fast.
It's so fast.
Like warp. Yeah, it was
Warp
fast.
Factor Unknown, yeah, who knows?
Unknown, exactly.
Yeah. My favourite thing about that intro sequence, well, two things I like about it, is, first of all, the music.
Yes.
It's so jazzy, pumpy, it's got a great beat. It sort of reminds me of like one of those classic old like game shows, and I don't know what one exactly, but yeah, just like a TV game show.
Yeah, from the 70s.
Yeah, from the 70s or 80s, yeah.
Oh, it might be a Blockbuster, but I think that's maybe 80s or even 90s, I don't know. Anyway, that sort of thing.
There's a lot of like horns in there, like trumpets and stuff. Yeah. And then also in the intro, but it's sort of whenever you see like an establishing shot of the Enterprise like flying across screen, you can just see they have like the painting on the back, and they've got like a painting of the Enterprise on like a transparent bit of film or whatever, and you can just see them pushing it along.
Yeah.
You can see how they're filming it. It's obviously. I don't know. I'm not familiar with like the production of this show or any cartoons of that era. But I'm gonna guess that this is a bit more of a lower budget style of cartoon than like Yogi Bear, for example, like Mickey Mouse kind of thing.
I would say so. I mean, it's good they've got all the original voice actors that are doing it.
I really like
that. I like the fact that, when Spock talks or Kirk talks, it's actually them, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
But I was counting the number of times I thought, I wonder how they're going to make a budget cut here, or how they're going to, cut the costs, basically, of the animated frames. And partly, some of that is there are a lot of still shots where nothing's happening. There's also a lot of talking from behind.
Yeah.
So you're seeing a chin move.
Yeah, just the face move, and the rest of there was a shot on the bridge where the helmsman Eric's was talking, and there was a guy in the background, and Eric's wasn't moving, his face was, and the guy in the background wasn't moving. It's all very
things like that. Yeah. Also, I don't know if this budget or just but it struck me as being strange that their eyes are the same colour.
Yeah, they are.
As their skin. I'm like, where are their... What do they call it, even? Is it corneas?
The whites of your eyes.
Were not there.
No.
That's... Okay, I mean, it wouldn't have taken much to put that in, but then I got used to it. I thought, that kind of works.
So I always have to... Whenever you watch an old film or TV show or anything, you have to remember... And even shows from the early 2000s or the 90s, things that we would consider quite recent... LCD screens, HD screens were not a thing. You was watching something like CRTV. They're really big, chunky, a small screen. It'd be kind of a bit granulated. So I would imagine back in the 70s, was it 73, 74?
Yeah, 73, yeah.
73, yeah. I imagine in 73, you're 10 years old. I bet this looks fine. I bet it looks totally fine.
Yeah.
I don't know, I've gone back and watched shows from my childhood and I'm like, that looks awful.
Yeah.
But you don't remember it being
I guess we are talking about a 50-year-old animation.
Oh,
so
totally.
half a century old. They're going to make certain choices of the animation style. We might think, today they don't do that. But
but also, how many kinds of animation were there? Was there much to compare it against? Was it that? I don't know.
Really. No, not really. I'm trying to think of what some is. Disney, I guess, would be the biggest.
Yeah, I guess he had what was Snow White out by that point? The original Snow White.
Oh yeah. That was late 1930s, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow. I would have been, if it was in a quiz and it was what year did Snow White come out? I'd have been I think I'd have guessed 1962.
Yeah, but when we did a quiz, you got the bed knobs and broomsticks question, which I think was 1973 as well.
I did. I pulled that one out somewhere.
Because I thought that was much earlier, so I could be wrong about Snow White, but I think it's 1930s.
Well, we're not going to Google when Snow White came out. We're just going to assume that Tom's right in the late 30s.
Yes.
And,
that's always best.
If we're wrong, somebody can correct us.
Yeah.
A bit more on the art style and the look of the show. I absolutely adore. I love the planet from space. It's just this ball, and it's just paint. It's just paint splodges in a circle.
Yeah.
And it looks so stupid. And it's so obviously paint.
Yeah.
Just really thickly smudged on there with a big paintbrush. I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
Even in TNG and stuff, some of the planets from space will look a bit naff. They look alright.
Yeah.
They look better. They look better than the remaster.
Yeah, I've heard there's a big difference between that.
Well, you would have seen the remaster because that's what's on Netflix. How do you consume your TNG?
Well, originally I consumed it on VHS.
Yeah, of course.
So I was watching it and I was like, at the time, when did I watch TNG? I would have been 20, so we're talking about 19 years ago now. So say early 2000s. I remember being quite impressed by the special effects at the time.
But again, you was watching on VHS on a 15-inch screen maybe.
Yeah, 15-inch screen. I think. Yeah, it was a small screen. I don't even know what I watched it on now. But then, of course, you get the Star Trek Next Generation official 1-7 volume DVD sets.
Oh man, yeah.
Now this was a step up, and I watched those DVDs so much, and they were good. I don't think they were remastered though.
Oh, well, they know. That's a shame.
So then, the first I heard about the remaster was a few years ago. I don't know when it came out, but it was noticeably different.
Yes.
But in a way I couldn't notice.
So,
which I guess is the whole point.
That is the point. So I have the Blu-rays, the remastered Blu-rays of Next Generation. The next time we have to watch them Next Gen, we won't go via Netflix. I'll watch it on that. So the Netflix versions are the HD remasters, the Blu-ray versions.
Yeah.
But on the Blu-rays, It has some commentary, and it will all. I'm fairly certain every episode has the original trailer off for TV, and they're not remastered.
Oh, okay.
So you can go in and you can watch a trailer in the original crapness from the 90s.
Excellent.
And then you can go straight in and watch the episode, and you can, like, night and day see the... I'm fairly sure I'm right. I might be wrong. What could be wrong?
There's a YouTube channel called Star Trek Intakes, or Ryan's Edits, I believe. And what he does is he takes these old edited bits of footage and makes them into something that's not an outtake, it's the opposite. So it's almost like they make a mistake in the show that he uses an outtake for, but he splices it with real information.
I have seen this, yeah.
And most of the time he uses the edited footage, and sometimes it will be noticeably, you've got this from a VHS from the 80s, and the difference in what he uses is quite striking. But it's also very entertaining to watch. The
biggest difference of those remasters is the vibrancy of the colours. Like the command shirts, the red shirts, like Picard and Riker's shirts. Like the red just pops so much more, and it just looks, I don't know, it looks fantastic. If I had 3 wishes, remaster DS9. Oh man.
Oh, definitely.
I know why they won't do it. It's too expensive, and the market's probably not there. This is, again, we're going on another tangent here. There must be, somewhere in the world, a billionaire or multi-millionaire who is a Trekkie, who loves Star Trek. And you would think, like, if I was a billionaire, I reckon I could afford to pay, I assume, Paramount. But hey, I will pay for the remaster. You can have all the rights, you have all the stuff, just do it. Because I think I saw an article once, and it said that to remaster an episode, I can't remember if it was to remaster DS9 or what they paid to remaster TNG. I think it was what the projected cost to remaster DS9 was. I think it was $60,000 per episode, which is a lot. And you can see why they wouldn't want to do that, because they probably wouldn't get the return on that.
Yes.
But if you was a billionaire,
you
could afford that.
Remaster all episodes. We're looking $6 million for 100 episodes, so probably about 10 million to do DS9,
which is
sizable.
That's less than a yacht. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't make that in a year. So.
No, I don't. No, not yet. Anyway,
really,
maybe next year.
Yeah, we'll see.
But at some point, there must be a millionaire or billionaire out there who would. There must be a Trekkie. Side tangent of a side tangent over. Back to the animated series. They've gone to a relaxation planet. Now, I know it's the 70s. And I know Riser has not been established yet. But, as far as a relaxation planet goes, it's pretty naff.
Yes.
It's just a forest with some mountains in the distance. And I know it can create whatever you want, but it always seems very tame. Like Alice in Wonderland, McCoy's there and he's looking at, like, a manor house, like a big country house. And you're like, it's kind of boring. I think I'd rather go to Riser, where everyone wants to have sex with you. That sounds way more fun. I'd rather go there for a weekend.
Who have you got option-wise on this planet? The Queen of Hearts. So it's like, I mean, yes, if you want to imagine that, I suppose you could go that way.
Yeah.
But Riser, I agree, also sounds more appealing.
But you know, on a more serious note, like, I think I'd rather go back to Earth for a week and just have my R&R there. There are thousands of planets. There must be something that has like something like go to like Betazoid or something. It's like Beta Z, and just check out their museums or something. Go to there's no cafes on this restaurant. No. There's no cinemas.
No.
You just wander around in the woods.
Yeah, imagining stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I would be disappointed if.
Yeah, it's not my
surely.
Yeah, that's like it's like on the bridge, like Kurt presses the button. Attention all hands, we're taking some much needed R&R. We're going to the Shore Leave planet.
Yeah. Really? Yeah.
When Bones is standing there, sort of panned over, and he's looking at this big house, he says to himself, he's like, they don't make them like that anymore. And I'm like, they still don't. That's a replica. They don't make them like that anymore.
No.
I don't quite know what he was going for. Though I think Bones' character is a bit like he's like the old back in my day kind of character. He's a bit of a grump. He is a lovable grump.
And what was it they said? I think the most corny line of the episode. They say something, and he goes, "Yes, that's my prescription."
Oh, only happy thoughts.
Oh yeah. It's like, but you're the last person to talk about happy thoughts.
Yeah, exactly.
Your Bones, you're naturally grumpy.
And on that bit, I was like, only think happy thoughts. You're like, okay, Orion slave girls, Vulcan love slaves. Is that where we're going with this?
Yeah. I must also bring out. I was going to call her Katniss because I can't think of her name.
Oh, Marest.
Yeah,
Lieutenant Marest.
The silence after she finishes speaking, followed by.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
She puzzled up.
I mean, I know she's a cat. I mean, you've established she's a cat by the fact that she has cat ears and cat nose and looks like a cat and a tail. But then these weird sounds she makes.
The thing about that is, like, it's weirdly kind of sexy. The cat-like purrs.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like, that was like the direction the voice actor was giving us, like, okay, you're going to purr.
Can you do like a sexy purr?
Yeah, sexy purr.
And just really go for it. Yeah. And it's like, but I don't need it inserted at the end of every sentence that you make. I mean, you're a cat, just be cool with it, you know?
Yeah, I feel like there might have been other ways to put feline features, traits into that character.
Yeah. Without the sexy purr.
Without the sexy purr,
yeah. I agree. But then it's the eyes, and then they had that other character, Eric's, and he had like eyes as well.
Yes.
I thought they sort of sister, obviously not brother sister because he's not a cat, but I just wanted to like a romance interest there or something.
As far as I'm aware, no.
No.
But I'm really glad you brought up both his characters, because this is one of my favourite things about the animated series. Now, I mentioned it before in this podcast, is it allowed them to do things which you couldn't otherwise do, and that is have actual aliens on the show. Like Mr. Eric's, he's got 3 arms and 3 legs. And Marest, she is a cat. She's got a tail, she's always fur. You couldn't have that in the original series.
No.
And even when they got to Next Generation, some of the aliens we see in their prosthetics, some of them don't quite hold up. When we spoke about, what was the Next Generation episode we spoke about on this podcast? It was Lonely Among Us. And it had the dog.
Yes.
Yeah, it was nice to see aliens like that, but the animated series did give them like an outlet to have actual aliens, and then with some of the foes and bad guys and challenges they face on the animated series, they can do weird and wonderful stories. There's one episode where Spock, he gets cloned or something, or there's like a 50-foot version of Spock. There's no way they could have done that live action.
No.
So yes, they're both a little bit kind of weird, if one could say, but I like that they're both there.
Yeah.
Especially Mr. Eric. So I like 3 legs, 3 arms.
Yeah,
It's so simple, so alien. I love it. Yeah, I don't think it's really until cheesy CGI on Enterprise, but probably until like the new shows like Discovery onwards, we actually start seeing proper aliens again on Star Trek.
Because Marest is in Lower Decks, right?
Ooh, good. I have no idea.
No, I assumed, well, at least I've seen a trailer or a clip of a show.
I mean, unless that species is very long-lived, because the Kirk's Enterprise is 23rd century, and Lower Decks is like late, it's 24th century.
Yeah.
But it's after like DS9 and stuff, so
tell you what it is.
It could be the same species.
I could be wrong.
Race.
I'll tell you what it is. I saw the Star Trek Very Short.
Very short.
I think she did it.
Yes.
And I assumed she was from Lower Decks. I think it was actually she was from the
Yes, of course.
That's probably what it is. Yeah.
See, that was one thing I wanted to mention actually. Is like, on this podcast, we've had 5 episodes of animated shows.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Like, the amount of animated cartoons we've had on this podcast.
Our wheel of randomness is heavily biased towards animated.
Personally, I'm so happy we've got this episode.
I'm glad because, I've seen TNG, DS9, Voyager,
And a few little things here and there.
A couple of splattering of other things. But these animated shows, I'm like, this is great.
It's a whole new world.
Like I didn't realise they existed. It's like very shorts. I just never heard of shorts. Animated
they
series.
were brand new when we sort of discovered them.
Yeah. Even the animated series, I may have heard about in passing, but I didn't actually realise it was a thing.
Of course, yeah. When they sort of realise that the Enterprise is getting took over and they can't beam down, they can't communicate, Scotty and the crew come. One of their plans is, an obvious plan, we'll send a shuttle. Good plan. I like the shuttle bay. You see, like, the shuttles in there, and they have 3 shuttles of the same kind. They're the ones you see on the original series. But there's another shuttle, I don't know if you caught it, and it was a bit of a different design, it was a bit more oblong in shape, and it had the little nacelles above it. And I have nothing interesting to say about that, other than that I like that there's a different design of shuttle there.
Yeah.
It was really cool. Again, they can do different things on the animated series, because he's got to draw it.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be based in real life. It can be what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Star Trek's not based in real life.
No, of course not.
No, but what I mean is they can extend reality based on the animation.
They can expand the universe
based on the animation budget, which is obviously very high for this episode.
Yes, it is exceptionally high.
Especially with the nicely drawn eyes.
Yeah. You save a lot of paint by not colouring in the eyes like that, yeah. A lot of white.
Because it was paint by nose back in those days, and it would save a lot more if you could just go one splodge.
Exactly. Would you, if you was on the planet and you're with like Kirk and Bones and Spock,
and it's only Lieutenant Maress that was there?
Well, no, she's on the ship.
Oh, I see.
So you're on a planet with Kirk and Spock, and you've gone down to find Uhura.
Yeah.
And you're getting a bit lost. Would you follow those signs?
I would question them intently. Like, first of all, what is this sign doing here? But then I'd think, no, this is a tourist planet. So you would have signs on a tourist planet. So I would kind of trust the fact that it was set up in the past. But now things seem a bit fishy, and it's kind of like things are going on. I'd be like, no, I'd question this sign. I'd be like, why are you here?
Yeah, because Kirk does question the thing, the sign. I would not follow the signs. No. I would walk in the exact opposite direction of the signs. Because the planet creates things based on your imagination. But at the moment it's trying to kill them. So I wouldn't. It's like, follow this sign this way into a hole of spikes. I wouldn't follow the signs.
No.
But it worked out. It did actually lead them kind of to a hole to the ground.
I can't remember, because you've seen it probably twice as much as me. Did it lead them to the chasm where they got attacked by the giant cat?
They first got attacked by the giant pterodactyls, and then by the cat.
That's right, I forgot them, because they had that piercing sort of...
Yeah. Actually, that sound effect of the pterodactyls, that comes up time and time again.
That's good. That was a good...
In the animated series. It's like a stock footage, stock sound.
Yeah.
When, they find the pterodactyls and stuff, and they go to fire their phasers on them, and they don't work. Obviously, the planet is still not working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to get attacked or picked up.
Yeah, like they just sort of like fly by, and the anime they sort of duck, and they don't. Yeah, it's kind of a bit silly, but I don't know why. When I first watched it, I knew they weren't going to save us, but all I could imagine was like Kirk just going, "Cheese it." I don't know why. It just really
cheese it.
Just cheese it and like run away. It's just like cheese it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It just sort of. The vibe, I think, of this episode was just a bit more Scooby-Doo, I think.
It did feel like a giant Scooby-Doo episode. I mean, would someone have had to have imagined the pterodactyls for them to be there?
Normally, yes, but the planet is trying to kill them, so no. In this case, the planet has imagined those.
Because the giant cat...
the big pussy.
Was imagined by...
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
That was Planet again. And you think, okay, the planet's trying to kill them. The planet knows they're in a cave, so why create a monster which is too big to get in the cave?
Yeah.
Some of the 1,000 zombie rats or something.
Yeah, or even a small cat, but make it feral.
Yeah.
With rabies.
Like a rabies cat, yeah.
And then you're onto a winner.
Or a cat with like laser eyes or something, I don't know, just...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Or like a flood of lava. It was almost like the planet didn't really want to kill them. It wasn't trying.
Yeah, there were plot holes there if you search for them.
Which we are. Back on the ship. I really like when the anti-grav goes off. And again, this is sort of me saying why I like the animated series. We never get anti-grav stuff in any of the other Treks. A little bit here and there. Like in the first Contact movie, when they're sort of going out to move a dish and, Worf sort of yeets a Borg off into space. You get a little bit of that.
Oh, yeah.
But normally, like, anti-grav just isn't. I like how they're all like floating around. They're like hanging on.
Yeah,
they're just like stood there, like tilted up.
Yeah, but on TNG you don't see that. I can't imagine Geordi being like
even like DS9 Voyager. I can't really remember it much in like Discovery or Strange New Worlds. It's not really a plot device they use in Star Trek.
No,
low gravity, which is kind of weird. It should be like such an easy foil for our heroes.
Yeah.
Oh no, there's no gravity.
But I can imagine, especially in the early days of space travel, that would be a thing where you get a glitch in the zero gravity drive.
Even like Enterprise, when like that's the first long range exploration ship, you don't get much anti-grav stuff.
I would love to see a confused Picard in zero gravity going, what is this? Or he's like he's mid Earl Grey and he's like, and it's like floats off, and he has to. An episode is devoted to like 10 minutes of him trying to find his Earl Grey tea.
Sorry, there is an episode of Enterprise where I think it's season 1, and Mayweather, the helmsman, he's more experienced. He used to be a freighter pilot. You go up on space freighters, and he finds like the center of the ship where like the anti-grav from the top bit of the ship and the bottom bit of the ship sort of meets and creates like a 0G little environment.
Yeah.
And I forget which character, one of the other characters finds him there, and he's upside down, and they have to sort of jump off and see him. So they do it a bit at Enterprise. So that was do it more Star Trek, more anti-grav stuff. It's fun. It's fun. And when they're in the anti-grav bit, and Scotty goes down there to try and fix it, he has to open like an access panel like, into a Jeffries tube. He hasn't got like a space tool or what are the tools that like O'Brien uses to do like a whatever thing. Pass me a thing, a micro a technobabble thing. No, he's just got a crowbar.
Yeah.
He's just got a stick. He's just got a space crowbar. Sometimes you just need a stick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. In the original series, quite a fairly recurring theme is Captain Kirk and his word jujitsu, known in the fan worlds.
Is that like word salad?
A little like a word salad,
okay,
yeah. So there's an evil computer or an alien or whatever, and Kirk will just talk at them and logic them and into a corner, and they sort of break down and give in. It happens in this episode. He managed to logic his way out of it, and convince his computer to stop being evil. And it was a little quick. The computer came round a little bit too quick. I was like, oh yes, I will totally. My purpose is now I will return to my true function. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. No way. I would be like, if I was Kirk, that's great, thank you so much. Kirk to Enterprise, beat him up. Okay, Warp 5 out of here. A few minutes later, Kirk to Starfleet Command, send an armada, we need to destroy a planet.
Yeah.
There's an evil computer.
Yeah.
I would not trust that computer.
No.
At all.
Because it was going to... Well, first of all, it's trying to kill them.
Yes.
By sending, like, vicious cats that
couldn't
fit into cats.
as well.
Kidnapped Uhura. That alone is a grave offence. And I didn't trust the computer at all.
Absolutely not.
So for Kirk to come in and be like... I don't think he understood the gravity of the situation.
No, he didn't. He was like, sky ship? Slaves? What are you on about? He had no idea what he was on about. He just was winging it.
I know. And was it me, or was the whole like early 70s vibe of slaves and Uhura a bit edgy for the day, or... I'm not saying specifically Uhura, but talking about slaves for any member of staff.
Well, I think obviously, so we're referring to like American culture on this. We can't talk with much authority about Black American history. Well, to be fair, any Black history. It's not an area of expertise of mine.
No.
But I would hazard a guess that no, I don't think there was any sort of deeper meaning to that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. There's me tonight watching this thing. I was thinking, I wonder if Star Trek writers, but obviously not.
I mean, potentially, there's we can't dismiss the fact that there's a. I don't know. I'm not trying to sort of say anything about anyone who produced the show, but it's possible that some people who did produce the show did hold certain beliefs which would not fly today.
I'm not saying in a negative way, because I would imagine the people that were writing the show and Star Trek in general were forward-thinking. The fact they had to think about future events.
Well, we have, they really are, because Star Trek has a black female, not quite a lead, which is a main character. Uhura is a main character on primetime TV.
Yeah.
That is insane. And I think, I'm fairly certain, Star Trek the original series has the first interracial kiss on mainstream American TV.
That's the first, and the fact that it was actually recognised as the first is like today. In today's age, is like, really? That was the first? And it took a futuristic show from the 60s to actually bring this to people and shock people into thinking this is actually okay.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
And I mentioned before that I've been rewatching Star Trek, all of Star Trek, along with the Mission Log, a Gene Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. And when they were going through the Deep Space Nine episodes, when Sisko got together with Cassidy Yates, I don't know what episode, but in the beginning of one of the episodes, like the opening scenes, they're in bed together. And Sisko gets called away. Cassidy gets called away and she has to go to her fridge or whatever. And she gets out of bed in her pajamas, whatever, and goes off. And one of the hosts of his podcast, they do trivia and stuff. And one of the bits of trivia he pulled out was that the producers, showrunners, studio, somebody higher up, pushed back into that scene. They didn't want that couple in the bed together. And you're like, that's the 90s. That's crazy.
I know.
You know what I mean? That's crazy. Like, the world of TV and what's acceptable and what isn't it's crazy. Obviously here in the UK we have the watershed and stuff, and is that outdated? Is that antiquated? I don't know.
Yeah, it's just weird.
I'm definitely not qualified or competent enough to weigh in on those kind of topics.
No. It just shows how close in our timeline that we're currently living in, that things were not acceptable to now they are acceptable by a couple of decades. It's just weird.
And we sort of took it like another one. It's gay marriage is it's so recent. It was basically yesterday, and you I
can remember hearing about these countries saying yes, it's now allowed.
Yeah, I mean a lot of countries now still don't. But do not. You will face seriously harsh punishments death penalty stuff.
But saying all that, it was pleasant to see in early 1970s that Uhura was a main character on the show.
Not even Uhura, so we also have Sulu as an Asian man. And obviously America had been at war with Japan, and they were the enemies as such. So it was fairly recent after the Second World War.
Yes,
but you've now got Sulu, George Takei, on the show. And George Takei famously was put in one of the American internment camps during the Second World War. He was a child.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, America rounded up, for their own safety, of course, Japanese citizens and put them in these camps for their own safety. It was basically a prisoner of war camp. And then also, when the original series was out, we have Chekhov on Star Trek. And he's a Russian, and this is the height of the Cold War.
Yeah.
And you're it was really forward-thinking of Star Trek and Gene Roddenberry to put those kind of characters front and centre on the show.
It's almost switched now, because nowadays it'd be no, thank you, we whatever.
Well, yeah, so, I nowadays to sort of put a character in the forefront, we have Adira Gray on Discovery, who's a non-binary character.
Yes.
And, we got Stammer, Doctor's called. There's a gay couple sort of thing. We have Star Trek's sort of continually progressive, and in the 90s we had Janeway as captain, we had Sisko as a black captain.
Were they the first gay couple on Discovery?
On Discovery,
no,
yes.
I mean in the Star Trek. Oh, she had Picard and the guy Darmok.
Of course.
Apart from that, were they the first?
I reckon you could make a point for Dax.
Oh, true.
Because Dax had changed gender a few times through a symbiont, and there was that one episode where a previous host, and like they'd been together, they'd been married like in a previous life, like a few symbionts back, and they rekindled. But at this point in their life, they're both females. Yeah, I don't know.
No, it's just interesting to.
Yeah.
But no, that's what
Star Trek
the
is
thing
great.
that I like about Star Trek, and I'm sure many people like, is that it's forward thinking and subverts current thoughts about what is acceptable and what is not.
For me, it doesn't matter. But I'm sure there is somebody out there who would see a character like Adira Tal as a non-binary character, and that really resonates and that really matters to that person. So that's great. And I'm sure back in the 60s, seeing Uhura on screen as a black woman, I'm sure to a lot of people that was really important.
Yeah, I would go so far as to say that if it were not for series and films like that, where people thought, no, this is right, this is how it should be. You know, who knows without film and entertainment where we would be as a world now.
Like, as I always say, so this has been a great conversation, but as always is to say is that we are a couple of white guys, and like how much we could sort of relate in comments, because I don't know, like I've never experienced racism or sexism really, so not in any sort of dramatic way.
No, I would say the same.
Yeah, I've never struggled with anything like that, so it's kind of hard for us to sort of, I guess, put ourselves in those shoes, I suppose. I don't know, these are hard topics, and like, I don't feel like I'm qualified to talk about, but you know, this doesn't mean we can't talk about them, even if we're wrong.
No, exactly.
And like I would love it if someone is listening.
And I would happily admit I'm wrong.
Yeah, no doubt. I would love if someone's listening and they're like, "What the hell are you guys on about?" And please, that'd be great.
I'd like to bring up the subject of The Simpsons, and The Simpsons were known for being very yellow.
They are pretty yellow.
I don't know why they went for yellow instead of.
It's a weird choice. I bet there's a reason why.
I looked it up once, but I've now completely forgotten it.
Well, that was a great anecdote. Thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. I thought it enhanced the podcast.
Yeah.
But what I gathered from The Simpsons were that the people in it were yellow. I will progress forward from this point. So yes, that's right. So Spock has something happen to him.
He gets injected like a fake, pretend to be dead drug.
That's right. And he becomes extremely Simpson-like in his appearance.
Quite yellow, yeah.
I was like, yeah, just Springfield. It screams me Springfield. And then he goes into this room and he gets like, he's still yellow and everything else as well. And then the next shot, it pans away and pans back. And whether something's happened, I didn't fully gather. But he's now back to his normal pink colour.
Yeah.
So was it they ran out of pink? And they just had something like, I'll tell you what, guys, this is going to be a show. We've foreseen this show happening in a few years. It's going to be really popular. Shall we just paint him yellow? In the advent that...
I would love if it was like an interview somewhere with, is it Matt Groening?
Groening. Yeah.
Like if he was like, oh yeah, the inspiration for... Did you see that after Star Trek? Like
Spock randomly turned yellow, and I was like, that's a great colour.
Can you imagine if that's the inspiration for Yellow Simpsons? I imagine it's not, but that'd be great. I would love that.
So I'm guessing Simpsons came about, was it late 80s or early 90s, or maybe even...
Again, in a pub quiz, I would say 89.
I'm going to say late 80s, early 90s.
I
would say 87. I was looking up a game the other day, and there's a Simpsons arcade game, and I've got a feeling that was early 90s, like 91, but I'm going to say 87, yeah. Maybe 89.
December 17th, 1989.
89! Okay, wow.
I will take those.
Did you say December 9th?
I said 89.
Yeah, but December when?
December 17th.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Wow, that's
a long time ago.
It's a long show, yeah.
Yeah, nearly 4 years.
Once they've sort of, Kirk has done his word jujitsu and he's talked the computer down and it's all fine, he whacks out his little communicator and he calls it the Enterprise and he's like, oh, Lieutenant Monroe, everything's fine down here. Please resume shore leave. He's like, oh, yes, sir. Whatever she
yeah. Oh, yeah, hang on a minute.
Yeah, and they start being over down. If I was Lieutenant Monroe, Lieutenant Morest, I would want to check those orders. How does she know that Kirk is not being held hostage?
Yes.
Like, please
it could be
beam,
a coded message.
Yeah, beam everybody down. It's off the ship.
Come down here. It's a lovely planet.
Amazing,
yeah. The killer, robot that's controlling the whole thing is that he smooth things over.
He's now not going to take over the ship.
Yeah.
Perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah. That zero gravity thing is in the past now.
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
It's come down here.
Totally. When the planet computer was trying to take over the Enterprise, and it was building a computer on the Enterprise, its computer had like buttons and dials, and I don't think a computer needs that if it's operating itself.
No.
It was obviously very visual. It was getting the point across, but nitpicking now. Definitely.
The one thing I noticed when they flipped their flippy thing open.
Oh yeah, the little communicator.
The communicator. It had like a little swirly dial thing on it.
Yeah.
It's like, what actually does? It just looked like a
little frequency thing, channel.
Like ornament.
Think of like CB radios, like little channel 5. Maybe.
Oh, maybe. But
yeah.
I guess back in those days, we're talking 1973 here, the thought of a mobile device would be like,
big brain.
No, this is 2300, 2400 stuff.
Yeah.
But the fact it's actually happened, I'm not going to say it's because of Star Trek, but I'm sure there's influence.
I don't know if Star Trek was like the first show to envision like a portable communication device like that, but it is basically a mobile phone.
Yeah.
And when you look at the 90s, we've got like they're all using those pads. And it's like, oh my god, it's little tablets, little iPads. It's fantastic. The little things that they have predicted so well.
Yeah.
Some things they haven't predicted so well, but
No. Because I read once that they do have a team of, scientists, like, what do they call it? Consultants. A team of consultant scientists they can call upon to say, like, is this going to happen? What do you predict will happen in the future? And I can imagine back in the 1970s, maybe not for the animated series, but for the original series, they at least had a team that could be like, is this going to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, as far as sci-fi goes, I think Star Trek is pretty fairly grounded in reality. They try and they don't go too crazy with their sci-fi tech too much. Like like a holodeck, it's kind of in the realms of possibility. I could see that. And I expect back in the 60s and 70s, I expect the idea of a portable communication device was conceivable.
Yeah,
albeit fantastic.
So I just must mention the main enemy robot on the episode. He is just...
It's not great.
You just felt like,
you're an idiot.
Yeah, you're just an idiot.
I mean, he's been there for eons.
And the fact that when Kirk did mention something, he had to think about it for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
It's like, what is your RAM?
Not great. Definitely not DDR5.
How do you compute? No, it's not. No. I mean, you're thinking like, no, we're talking about 24th, 25th century technology here.
You would think.
Like, at least upgrade. But no, I think he was running like these x86 Pentiums.
Even just like clear its cache a little bit, you know what
exactly.
I mean?
It's probably had so many cookies and things clogging up his system. But no, I don't know. The fact that he had to think about it for so long, it's like, I understand or no, I...
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously of its time, definitely, but yeah.
Riddled with spyware.
Let's rate it. Let's rate this madness.
Okay.
Yeah. Give us a final thoughts and an IMDb.
I'm going to rate this low, and I feel like I'm judging it unfairly, but I don't care, because it was my first interaction with a Star Trek animated series from the 1970s. And I'm going as far as to say, it's the worst animated pleasure I've had. So I am going to rate it 5.2.
5.2. 5.2. Okay. Fine. I'm going to disagree with you. I mean, not like I'm not going to give it a 9 point something, maybe like that. But I like animated series, and I don't know if this is the best episode or example of the animated series. But because it's the one we've sort of got reference on, I've only sort of the one I've seen the most recent. I've not seen the others in a few years now. I'm going to rate it a bit high just because, as I've mentioned a few times, I like what the animated series allowed them to do, and it allowed them to tell different stories and put different characters on screen. So I'm going to rate it a bit higher than nothing, overwhelming. But yeah, I did also enjoy it because it was fun and a bit silly, a bit jazzy. I don't know. It felt kind of, I don't know, jazzy. I think that's a good word. I'm going to give it a 6.8.
Okay.
Which is a tad higher than you, I think.
Yeah, not 6.9?
Not a 6.9, no.
Okay,
we won't
6.8,
go quite that jazzy,
yeah,
no. Just a 6.8.
Okay.
So the IMDb rating for Once Upon a Planet is 6.2.
Okay.
So quite like in the middle of where you came.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so. Yeah, you were probably closer to the mark than I was.
What do you say so?
5.2.
5.2. Nice. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, even so, I would say, yeah, that's kind of between our two realms.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I was really, yeah. I mean, it gave us a lot to talk about, which is always fun.
I mean, there was so many aspects to this episode, which they probably couldn't portray in real life. There's a lot more to talk about when it comes to, there's a massive cat trying to get into a chasm.
There really was. Okay, so we are not going to spin for another episode because this is the season final of our podcast, Warp Factor Unknown. We've done our 10 episodes. So thank you very much for everyone who's listened. I've been your host, Dan, and I've been joined by my co-host, Tom. We spoke today about the animated series from Season 1, Episode 9, Once Upon a Planet. Please join us again. We're going to do a short little episode where we sort of recap our podcast Series 1 as a whole. So listen out for that. Thank you very much. If you'd like to contact us, please email us at warpfactorunknown@outlook.com. That again is warpfactorunknown@outlook.com. The music we've been using for these episodes is called Starfleet Command by Jeff Harvey, and you can find more of his work on pixabay.com.